The following is a video presentation of a morning worship service at Orrville Baptist Church.
about 7 years ago, one of the co-founders of the company Apple, they make computers and these, he passed away. You probably remember seeing it on the news. It was very heavily covered by media to carry on in the press about the death of a man named Steve Jobs. He was incredibly wealthy, of course. Steve Jobs was the co-founder of Apple. He had a lot of money, but for many, when you thought of Apple, you thought Steve Jobs. And when you saw Steve Jobs, you thought one thing, Apple. He was the figurehead, so to speak. He was at the top. He was the head honcho. But whenever he passed, did Apple just belly up and go out of business? Well, Apple bought this after he passed away. No. They're still making products. They're still making lots of money. They're still going about their business long after the death of Steve Jobs. Same thing with Walt Disney. Walt Disney passed away in 1966. And I don't know the numbers, but just as far as a brand, as far as a company, Disney has more money than ever. They own like half the companies in the world. I mean, it's kind of scary how much they own. We don't think about it, but Disney owns us. They own your house, they own your water, they own your cable, they own it all. They got more money after the death of Walt Disney than ever before. But again, when you thought of Walt Disney, the man, you thought of Walt Disney, the company, and vice versa. He was inseparable from the company. The wheels just never stopped turning. If those two companies, and then others like it, were to close with the passing of their respective leaders, it would actually be evidence that they were pretty bad companies. If those leaders passed away and the company shut down, it would mean that the company was reliant on one person. That's bad. You don't want to see that at all. That should never be the case in business. I've used this example before, and not to be morbid, I used it semi-recently too, on Sunday evening. If something tragically happened to me today, guess what? You're going to meet next Sunday. You're going to meet next Sunday, and you should meet next Sunday. The ministry of the church should continue. First of all, it wouldn't close down because I'm not the glue holding this together. Christ is. He's the CEO, not me. I said that when we first started Alex. It ain't my church. It ain't your church. It's his church. It belongs to him. And guess what? He's still alive. So it has nothing to do with me being the glue or you being the, quote, glue. It's all about him. As we continue on Acts 18, you're going to see the cross section, the intersection, so to speak. Yes, Christ is the glue. Yes, he is the owner of the church. Yes, he holds all things together, but guess what? He gives responsibility. He gives commands. He requires. Yes, Christ requires. I said the word requires obedience. Everyone wants to be afraid talking about Jesus in that way. He gives a command. He expects it to be met. We're going to come back to this idea a little bit. We're actually going to see a few different things this morning, but I also want to talk about the importance of what keeps the church, quote, going. What makes the church strong? Obviously, it's God. We know that already. No one will argue with that. But we want to point out some specifics. So yes, of course, God is in charge of his church, but he's using people to grow it. He's using people to strengthen it. He's doing the work, and he's doing it through people. Imagine that. So turn to chapter 18, starting in verse 18, we'll start to see this. I'll give a moment to turn there. Acts chapter 18, starting in verse 18. Here we go. The Word of God says the following. Paul, having remained many days longer, took leave of the brethren and put out to sea for Syria. And with him were Priscilla and Aquila. And per the usual, I don't know exactly how long Paul stayed in Corinth. You remember that recently, that event, we just walked through it. Paul is brought before the proconsul. It's basically a waste of time for him. The proconsul looks at Paul and says, guys, why are y'all even dealing with this? You tend to this. This is a theological matter between Paul and the Jews. I'm not getting my hands dirty with this. And just throw it out. Just get thrown out. Don't worry about it. Move on. Most scholars estimate that the event around this is the summertime. And so it would mean that he would leave around the winter, which makes sense. And the point, however, is he stayed a while. That's what I want us to look at. He stayed for some good time. And it's not unusual of Paul. This is kind of how he operates. But you think about what I would consider a close call, so to speak. We have this little saying that we use still today, don't press your luck. It means you've gotten away with something for so long, don't keep pushing it, keep pushing it, keep pushing it, get out while you're ahead. Well, Paul didn't even look at it that way. He's saying, anybody else would have said, I really could have got arrested or beaten up or maybe even killed by Roman authorities, but yeah, he stayed even longer. He was threatened for what seemed like the millionth time. But he remembered the promise of God from verses 9 and 10, that no one was going to harm him. And he clung to it. And so he kept with it. He stayed longer. He taught. And he preached. And he loved. And he encouraged. And he strengthened. You name it. Eventually, it was time to go. It was time for Paul to move on. Now, we have gone through this sermon before. Honestly. We've touched on it a few times because you see these reoccurring patterns in Acts. We've gone through this one before. We've been on a journey with Paul and watched him do this. It's his routine. It's the way he does things. He stays for a while. He strengthens. He builds up. And then what? He leaves. He moves on. Goes to the next. This sermon's already been done. We've gone through that. I want to take this further. I want to stay in that same arena of thought, but push it even further. Because look, now something else has happened. He's taken people with him. He's taken Priscilla and Aquila with him. Now, when Paul met this power couple, those are my words, that's what I call them. They're a power couple for the Lord. When Paul met them, they were believers already. They were believers. And over time, they became dear friends of the Apostle Paul. Has such good things to say about this power couple. They shared the same craft. They encouraged one another. They worked in ministry together, on and on. It's a really tremendous friendship that you see in the Scriptures. And eventually the church in Corinth met in their house. These two. This very special couple. Now, boy, oh boy, we're now reading that Paul is leaving and he's taking them with him. So Paul's gone. Priscilla's gone. Aquila is gone. It's a big loss. Is it not? That's a big loss. To have those three doing ministry, teaching, and encouraging, and building, and then they all leave. That's a large loss. You know, I don't want to preach too much or make it about what's not said in the text. There's a reason why the three of them are leaving. Actually, I say it's two reasons. First is they could have work to do elsewhere, as they're being sensitive to the Spirit. But secondly, because the church in Corinth is in good hands. Understand that. Why are they leaving? Because the church in Corinth is in good hands. That's the point we want to make. Now, we're not saying the Corinth church is perfect. We know from letters from Paul that they were far from perfect. But at this point, they could leave. They were able and willing to move on, to continue to minister to them, but to leave. I mentioned earlier about Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, figures like that. Why didn't the businesses they ran, why did they die with them? Why didn't those companies fall under? Why are they still operating today without them? Because even though Steve Jobs and Walt Disney had the most exposure, it's the unseen that kept those companies in business. It's the nameless. It's the people we don't know about that kept the wheels turning. Honesty time. Honesty time. Truly. If I announce next Sunday, well, the deacons and the mob, we've been having our meetings, and guess what? Myself and the deacons, we're going to Alaska, and we're not coming back. We're taking our wives, we're planting a church, we're done. Well, what happened? If the leadership said it's time for us to go to Alaska and plant a church, we feel called to do this, we're never coming back, we'll write letters, we might visit every now and then, once every 5-10 years. But truly, we're gone. If the leadership up and left, what would happen in Orrville? Let's ask that honest to goodness questions. I'll tell you this, if Orrville shut its doors after that, then it tells you we're unhealthy from leadership to layperson. If the leadership were removed, it would show you. that it hinged on a few select men and not Christ. However, if the doors stayed open, and the ministry continued, and the wheels continued to turn, not just spin, but turn, oh, it would show you how healthy we are. That it's not dependent on a few. That it's not dependent on just a few men in leadership roles, but boy, there's something special here. That's what you would see. That's what you would find out. Certainly, Paul understood his role. He understood his duty as an apostle and as a leader and as a teacher. He understood what he meant to the Corinthian church. But listen to this. In 2 Corinthians 1, verses 21 and 24, you tell me if this sounds like a man who wanted the church to be all about him. Now, he establishes us with you in Christ and anointed us in God, who also sealed us and gave us the Spirit of our hearts as a pledge. But I call God as witness to my soul that to spare you I did not come again to Corinth. Not that we lord it over your faith, but are workers with you for your joy. For in your faith you are standing firm. Not that we lord it over your faith, but are workers with you for your joy. That was Paul's model, and that was Paul's heart. That was his attitude. That was his view, although he certainly had this paternal love. He even compares himself to a nursing mother at one point to churches. He had this paternal figure and character that he shared with churches, but he didn't get his joy just by being one notch above them on the holiness scale for the sake of it. That wasn't how he operated. I don't want to just always be a little bit holier than the last just to say that I am. He was always wanting to bring up, to build up, to strengthen, to encourage. That was Paul's goal. If he could be used by God to strengthen the people, to strengthen the church, and guess what? Paul was satisfied. He was happy. He was overjoyed. I think back to the beginning of this book in Acts, as the disciples are moving on to life without Christ in the flesh. He's been crucified, okay? He's been crucified. He's now been resurrected. Christ has begun to appear to them, and then he's ascended. And he's gone. Now he promises, I'm with you always, right? But in the flesh, in the fleshly ministry of being there and always being there, he is, quote, gone. That's when he gives that command. Make disciples of all nations. And the promise, I'm with you always until the end of the age. And all throughout the Gospels, those same men are bumbling idiots. They're fools. You can't turn the page in the Gospel accounts without seeing the disciples ask weird questions and pointless questions, just proving time and time again they didn't get it. The way I feel most days, bumbling idiots. And yet, what happened through them? What did Christ do through them? The amazing thing to me, the disciples did more through Christ when he was away from them than when Christ was with them. They turned the world upside down. The church, listen, the New Testament church was birthed through them. With Christ ascended and gone, not being there to say, now do this and do this and do this. They were sensitive to the movement of the Spirit. It's amazing to see what God wanted to do through mortal men. And he had left. He was still with them, the power of them, but in the flesh, he left. It was not an opportunity here or there, ministry to fill in the disciples. Do something while you're bored. No. The New Testament church is born. It's just amazing to me. We see them being indwelt with the Spirit, being moved by the Spirit, being filled with the Spirit, doing incredible signs, incredible wonders, all through the movement of the Spirit. I feel the same way as those disciples most days, and I think back and remember, wow. And Christ used them. Just men. Just average, everyday men. Men who failed consistently. Failed consistently. He used them to do these amazing things in his name. He's probably got something he can do with me. I feel kind of worse than the disciples most days. By God, he can use me somehow. That's what I see when I see the beginning of Acts. I see what Christ is doing through our flesh. through us, through men and women. The church should never, in a million years ever, have to worry about a pastor, a deacon, an elder, a teacher, a director, a committee member. None ever leaving. Ever. By the way, I don't know. People get all antsy when you talk about stuff like this. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm simply saying it should never come down to that. The church does not live and die on one person, two persons, three persons. That's not how it works. It should never hinge on a few. It should be the least of the church's concerns. Of course, that's implying something. It's implying that the leaders have made it their priority to show Christ in everything and to see Christ in the church as well. To bring people up, to encourage them and strengthen them. To imitate me as they imitate Christ, that sort of thing. That's implying that. That's the key. There's a really good timely connection we can see in 1 Corinthians 4, verses 16 and 17. Listen to this. Therefore I exhort you, be imitators of me. For this reason I have sent to you Timothy, who is my beloved and faithful child of the Lord, and he will remind you of my ways which are in Christ, just as I teach everywhere in every church. In chapter 11 of the same epistle, Paul says those words, imitate me as I imitate Christ. It was never just about passing along his own personal traits. It was never about just the things that made Paul who he was. Like just Paul. His eye color, the food he liked. It was never about passing on those kind of characteristics. It was about passing on Christ. The things that pointed to Christ. Paul spent so much time investing in Timothy, someone he met. When? In chapter 16 of Acts. Someone he met in this very book. And I just love the cycle that happens here. Paul met Timothy because he was visiting Derbe and Lystra. Okay? He's visiting, going back to these churches. Places he would pour into and stay and encourage and strengthen. He was there to help strengthen the believers on that visit. And that's when he meets Timothy. Upon that return visit, he meets young Timothy. And what does he later do? He sends Timothy. He sends Timothy out to do what? The things that Paul did. To strengthen churches. To encourage. To build up. Doing exactly what he was trained to do. Equip. Pour into them. And then guess what? Lead. Lead. And you see Timothy doing the exact same thing Paul was doing. You see, when Paul leaves Corinth, what does the church do? Does it die? No. Absolutely not. When Timothy leaves Corinth, does it die? No. Absolutely not. It's the opposite. It's the exact opposite. To our members here this morning, I want to encourage you to know and to understand our identity. It does not hinge on the pastor's success, however that's measured, or the deacon's meetings, or the things that simply happen in certain meetings, committee meetings, whatever they be. Our identity and our health, it is found in one thing, the reflection of Christ. It's found in the reflection of Christ. I don't say that to lessen our responsibility. I don't say it to lessen our responsibility as a pastor or the responsibility of deacons. That's not the point. If you're hearing that, I'm doing a poor job communicating. The point is not to lessen the responsibility of leaders, especially think about all that Paul's been entrusted to do. The point I'm making is the church is called to be many things. But in everything, the church should be a mirror of Christ. People should see the reflection of Jesus in all that we do. And it's not just the pastor. It's not just the deacons. It's not just those teachers. It's all, everyone, all that we do. We should be a reflection to one another and also a reflection to the world. Now, wait a minute, because that's something different when you say the world. It's a whole different ballgame when you say we need to reflect Christ to one another and also reflect Christ to the world. It's easy to do that here because we all have a designated time in which we join and come together and meet and pray and worship together. We know how to reflect Christ to one another here. It's different to reflect Christ to the world. It means something. It means you got to do something. It means you got to go. It means you have to go outside the walls. Outside comfort zones. Outside the quote box, so to speak. It means we're reflecting Him in the world, outside of where just the church gathers. Reflecting Christ everywhere. That's all of us, each and every one of us, to reflect Jesus, to go, to quote, leave. Now I'm going to call a little bit of an audible here. I'm going to move on to verse 19. And you might be looking at your Bibles and saying, well, you only did half of verse 18. Well, that's right. I'm running out of time. I'm going to be here for another hour. So, the second half of verse 18, it says this. In Trey, he had his hair cut, for he was keeping a vow. Now, where did that come from? Very odd placement. Very strange. Very strange inclusion there. The Spirit did it on purpose, by the way. It's the Word of God. It's no accident. It's just there's something strange there. I don't want to be bypassed, okay? I don't want to just skip over that. And so what we're going to do again, I've done this before, if you are just dying to say, what is going on there? Why is there a mention of Paul cutting his hair and I'm just dying to know what that means? Well, come tonight at 6 o'clock. We will cover that. Well, good salesman. What does that mean that Paul had his hair cut, took a vow? We'll address that tonight at 6. But move along. We'll wrap this up looking at the remaining verses. Start in verse 19. They came to Ephesus, and he left them there. Now he himself entered the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. When they asked him to stay for a longer time, he did not consent, but taking leave of them and saying, I will return to you again if God wills, he set sail from Ephesus. When he had landed in Caesarea, he went up and greeted the church, and he went down to Antioch. Having spent some time there, he left and passed successively through the Galatian region and Phrygia, strengthening all the disciples. First off, same exact model. Same exact model with the power couple, Aquila and Priscilla. They arrived in Ephesus, and although Paul was asked to stay, he continued on. He said, if God wills it, I'll come back, and I'll return to you once more. But what's so different here? He just got finished going to places and staying for a long time, strengthening and building up and encouraging, staying with them. And so why would Paul stay in Corinth for so long, stay in other places for so long, but not stay in Ephesus? Because in his place, he's leaving Aquila and Priscilla. They're staying instead. They're doing the work. They're performing the ministry. They're doing the strengthening. They're doing the encouraging. That's what the church should be. That's what you should see in church. That's organic discipleship, as I call it. It's just natural discipleship. Christ, he calls out Paul. Paul is obedient to Christ, pours his entire life and his ministry into a few. And then those few imitate Paul as he imitates Christ, and those few go do the same. You see how that works? It's just down to the bone. Discipleship. It is raw, one at a time. But you know what? Those disciples go on to make disciples. And then they go into equip, and they strengthen, and they bring up, and they build up. And so whether it be a one-on-one disciple, a new convert, or it be someone who needs to be brought up in the faith a little bit, Paul's pouring his life into them. It's just beautiful to me. I love seeing it. And over time, it's not a few anymore, is it? It starts with a few, but over time, it's not just a few. It's the many, all because of the work of one. And so now Aquila and Priscilla are doing the ministry that Paul is doing. And if Paul were the only one doing this, you would not see Christianity the same way today. If he were the only one, it wouldn't be the same. That's my point in all this. It wouldn't be the same if it was Paul by himself doing this. If he started with a couple, and then just that was it, game over. Why is this such a big deal? And I've taken forever to get to this very point, the very end of the sermon. But this is what I want us to understand. It's not just Paul and the power couple, okay? It's not just Paul and the power couple. It's the churches. It's the churches that kept it going. Christ holds it all together in his hand. He's the glue. He's the CEO. He's the top. I get all that. I understand that. I preach that. But in terms of responsibility and to see what's going on behind the scenes, it's the churches. It's the churches. Why was Paul able to leave and leave and leave and leave? Because they were brought up to do the exact same thing Paul was doing. We get a few names here and there. We get the Aquilas and the Priscillas. There's just nameless, faceless people all throughout the Word of God, used in incredible ways. They'll never be called heroes. And yet they're the wheels that kept turning in the church. It's a glorious, beautiful thing to see. God uses the ordinary, like me and you. That's all we are. We're not rock stars. We don't have plaques. We're not going to die heroes. That's not who we're called to be. But guess what? One day we're going to come face to face and we're going to worship for all eternity. Don't give me plaques and trophies in this life if I know that's what I'm getting. I don't care less about that stuff. My goodness. God Himself. Forever. We're to be storing up treasures in heaven. Guess what? Your treasure are your disciples. Getting to see them. Getting to see the fruit of labor. Getting to see the masses as a result of the work of the church, seeing who's there to worship Christ. That's our treasure in heaven. I'm looking forward to seeing that treasure. Looking forward to rejoicing. It's the nameless, it's the faithless, it's the us, it's the Orrville Baptist churches of the world. Is my point. Do you see? The wheel's going to spin in place, they're going to keep turning. I want to be an encouragement this morning to you in this. I want you to feel encouraged. So here's the model. I want you to be encouraged by this. Feel encouraged and see the model for this ministry, but guess what? Don't stop there. Far too often that's where it ends. We're encouraged and we go home. Guess what? Be encouraged and then be an encouragement. Be an encourager. Something speaks to you, something calls you out, you feel convicted, you feel encouraged, you feel pressed forward, you feel built up. Guess what? Do that. Don't take it home where it fades over time. Take it and run with it and pour it into someone else. Be an encouragement to each other. Build each other up. Strengthen each other up. What's been done to you, do to others. If you're involved in a ministry, who do you show the ropes to? That's a good question. If you're involved in ministry here at the church, who are you discipling to be your replacement one day? If you're involved in something and doing something, who are you showing the ropes to? Because here's our tendency. That's my spot. And I'm not letting go of it. It's not the New Testament model, is it? Who are we showing that to? Who are we building up and bringing in? So that one day when we're gone, and one day when we leave, and one day even if we say, I feel God's calling me elsewhere, who are we showing that to? Who are we pouring into? Who are we dedicating ministry to? Obviously the Lord, but really, really bringing someone along with us. Who's the quote Timothy? Who's the Aquila? Who's the Priscilla? And if the answer is, well, nobody. I'm telling you now, pass it along. Pass it along. Bring someone with you. Build, equip, strengthen. If you've been encouraged by this morning, pass it on. Pass it along. Be an encouragement to others. This life, it's not about the spotlight, it's not about me, and mine, that's my spot, and nobody better get on my territory. In fact, if you look at Paul, it's the opposite. It's me for a time, it's my work for a time, but guess what? I want to bring people along with me, and I want to build them up. So that one day I could seamlessly step out. Not because I can't do it anymore, but because I want to build people up to maturity in Christ. Isn't that beautiful? I love that so very much. So very much. Be considering this as we continue to go through Acts together. We've seen so many practical things and so many practical instructions through this book. There's one more. Be mindful, be encouraged, and be reminded of what it means to be a disciple to the lost, and to be a disciple to believers, to encourage and to build up. What does that look like? What does it seem like here at Orrville? What Paul is doing? How do we use that here in my own life? Ask those important questions. See how you can be used. And that's, I think the perfect way to close is to have that weekly reminder. Guys, we should not take it for granted, even though we're getting used to saying it a whole lot. Christ is still at work. Hadn't stopped. From the very first Sunday Mass that we said, until today, a year and 5 months later, still at work. Hadn't quit, not going to quit, until he calls us home or he returns. Let's remember that as we go forward.